When death knocks and you answer, what or who waits on the other side? Have you ever stood at the edge of life and felt something watching? Not darkness, not silence, but a presence whispering, waiting. This isn't just a tale, this is what happens when the veil lifts and the dead speak. They buried her story just as they tried to bury her memory. But some stories cannot stay silent, and Adora Nwoke was not born to be forgotten. The year was 1994. The rainy season in Nsukka had been heavy, like a sky full of unshed tears. The land was soaked, the air electric, and the roads sleek like secrets. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Adora, a 21-year-old medical student with soft eyes and laughter like wind chimes, was returning from her aunt's house when the lorry struck. He didn't honk, he didn't swerve. He just swallowed her up in screeching steel and the scream of crushed metal. They rushed her to St. Raphael's Clinic, a small hospital with flickering lights and two overworked nurses. She had no pulse, no breath, no heartbeat, dead on arrival. 7 minutes, they covered her with a white cloth. But as just the attending doctor signed her death note, Adora sat up, gasping, eyes wide, voice hoarse. Grandmother says, "Stop crying. She's with the boy in white. They are safe now." The nurse screamed. That night, Adora slipped in and out of consciousness, whispering things no one understood. Her mother sat at her bedside, clutching rosary beads, whispering prayers into the dim lights of the kerosene lamp. On the third day, Adora fully woke and remembered everything. And what she remembered didn't belong to this world. She spoke of a glowing place, a river made of glass, a bridge made of fireflies. She said she floated not like air, but like memory. She described her grandmother long dead, standing beside a boy dressed in white. The boy was smiling. His name, she said, was Obinna. Her mother gasped and scattered backwards. Obinna was the son she had lost in 1972. A baby born still and buried quietly. No one ever told Adora, and yet she knew. Not just his name, but the scar on his mother's hip. The lullaby she sang before he passed, the stone placed on his infant grave. He said, he knows Mama sings to him in her dreams. Adora whispered, he hears her. Word spread. Some called it resurrection, others said possession. The local priest began preaching about false prophets, but deep inside the village shivered. Because Adora had returned not just from the edge of life, she had brought something back with her. In the weeks that followed, Adora changed. Not outwardly, she still wore her clothes the same, still plaited her hair in cornrows, still fetched water from the spring. But something was different in her eyes. She began to say things she couldn't have known. "You left the diary behind the altar," she told a visiting cousin. "You should have worn it, not hide it." The cousin's mouth dropped open. The diary had been hidden for 15 years. It contained a confession, a betrayal between siblings. Adora had never left Nsukka. How could she have known? Another time, she looked at an old woman and said, "Papa says you should stop sleeping with his photo under your pillow. He's no longer sad." The woman fainted. People began to visit the Nwoke compound, not for gossip, but for answers. Some brought pictures, some brought tears, some brought silence, hoping for permission to finally speak. Adora never charged. She never claimed to be a seer. She simply listened, and when she did speak, her words cut through pain like light through fog. But not all the voices were gentle. Some came screaming, some came angry, some refused to go back. Adora began having dreams, violent ones. She'd wake up with dirt under her fingernails, scratches on her back, and the scent of rainwater on her skin even on dry nights. She began writing names in her dreams, names she didn't recognize. The names matched missing persons, unsolved crimes, death blamed on fever that weren't. The whispers became a chorus. She once stood during morning devotion at home and said, "Chinedu didn't drown." His stepfather held him down. His aunt slapped her, but a week later the truth came out. The town split. Some called her a gift, others called her cursed. Children were warned not to play near her. Pastors came to cast and bind spirits. A bishop offered to pay her school fees if she would be cleansed, but Adora refused. I didn't ask for this, she told her mother one night, but I was given this. She said the dead were not angry, just tired of being unheard. Some want forgiveness, she said. Some want truth. Some just want to be remembered. The whisper did not care for status. She revealed a respected elder had poisoned his brother for land. She told a wealthy businessman that his success was born on the back of a pregnant housemate's corpse, one he paid to bury in silence. She whispered to a grieving father that his son's last words were, "I forgive you," and the man wept for hours. But with every whisper, Adora weakened. The light behind her eyes dimmed. Her laughter faded. She began to sleep for days, speak only in riddles, and then came the shadows. She spoke of being followed, not by people but echoes, memories that clung to her skin. Faces she didn't recognize in mirrors, the sound of children crying on walls. She begged for peace, but the veil had been lifted and it would not close again. One evening, her childhood friend Kelechi came to see her. She hadn't smiled in weeks. He brought suya and malt. She barely touched it. "Adora," he said, "you have to stop. You're fading." She looked at him, tears brimming. "I thought helping them would help me too," she whispered. "But I feel like I'm in two worlds. One foot here, one foot there, and neither feels like home anymore." He took her hand. It was ice cold. That night, Adora wrote letters to her mother, to Kelechi, to herself. And then she disappeared. They searched everywhere, by the river, through the forest, in wells, hospitals, shrines, nothing. For 40 days in Sukamond, until on the 41st day, a small boy collecting firewood found her near the old cassava farm, standing barefoot in white, eyes closed, whispering to the air, alive. She returned home, but something in her had shifted. She no longer spoke to the dead. She no longer wept. She began planting flowers, white flowers mostly. She opened a small library where children read folk tales aloud. She lived simply, and when people asked if she still heard the whispers, she smiled and said, "They found their rest. Now I must find mine." Years passed. Adora became something of a legend. Old women touched her feet. Young girls asked if they too would carry voices. And then one harmattan morning, she passed quietly in her sleep. No pain, no struggle. They say her last words were, "The river is waiting." They buried her under the almond tree near the reading center. But her story didn't end there, because even now, when the wind blows soft through Nsuka's hill and the birds fall silent at dusk, if you listen closely, you may still hear her voice, not loud, not frightening, but gentle, a whisper from the other side.
Thank you for watching African Tales by Mumsteak. If this story touched your heart, like, subscribe, and share. More real African stories await you here.